Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to totally deconstruct a massive historical myth, the idea that the Roman Republic just fell overnight. We so often look at history through the lens of sudden, dramatic events, right? But today, we're actually going to examine the century-long diseases that truly killed it. The eternal rise and fall of Rome is an epic story of profound structural decay, and it's all laid out in the historical sources we're unpacking today. So let's get right into it.
So, what really killed the Roman Republic? A lot of us jump straight into the third act of this story, Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon, and by doing that we completely miss the true structural collapse that started literally 100 years earlier. What really brought down this seemingly invincible superpower? Was it ambition, greed, or just a fundamentally flawed constitution? Look at this timeline. The death of the Republic wasn't some sudden assassination. It was a slow, agonizing 100-year burn. It really kicked off in 133 BC with the shocking murder of the Gracchi brothers over their land reforms, which sparked this dark spiral of violence. From there, we see Sulla's unprecedented march on Rome in 88 BC, the total political dominance of the First Triumvirate in 59 BC, leading right up to Caesar's famous assassination, and then the official end of the Republic in 30 BC. The seeds of destruction were planted way before Caesar was even born.
To figure out how this collapse actually happened, we're going to perform a sort of autopsy on the Republic. We'll diagnose the economy, look at the political mirage in the Senate, trace the terrifying rise of the warlords, and finally, witness the Republic's final breath.
Okay, Section 1. Diagnosing the economy, specifically the disease of inequality. So when Rome conquered massive powers like Carthage and Greece, they won unimaginable fortunes. But this triggered a deep disease of extreme inequality through a system called latifundia. Basically, wealthy aristocrats used the spoils of war to buy up huge tracts of land for massive plantation-style estates. And these estates just completely swallowed up the small family farms of common citizens, which fundamentally gutted the Roman middle class.
To put the sheer scale of this into perspective, just look at this number, 300,000. That's the amount of gold pieces flooding straight into Rome from its imperial conquests. This absolute river of capital concentrated wealth almost entirely into the hands of the senatorial elite, the generals and politicians sitting at the very top of the food chain. I mean, imagine this for a second. You deploy on a grueling military campaign, bleeding for your country for 3, maybe 5 years. While you're out there, the elite are hoarding unprecedented wealth back home. And because you've been gone so long, your family farm falls into disrepair and gets bought out by a billionaire. The very men who fought for Rome came home not as heroes, but as landless, destitute sharecroppers. It's a terrifying, timeless lesson in what happens when the wealth gap expands past the point of no return.
And as the academic consensus makes crystal clear, rapid expansion inherently destabilized the socioeconomic fabric of Rome. The infrastructure of what was basically a small city-state simply couldn't handle the immense wealth and administrative burden of a massive empire. It stretched their foundational laws right past the breaking point.
Moving on to Section 2, the political mirage and the illusion of politics.
Well, without a major foreign rival like Carthage to keep everyone united, Roman elites essentially turned their immense resources against each other. This led to a total breakdown of their unwritten political rules. You'll hear a lot about two main factions in this era: the optimates, who claimed to uphold traditional senatorial authority, and the populares, who claimed to champion the common people. But while it's tempting to look at them like modern political parties with deep ideological convictions, the historical sources reveal this divide was largely a mirage.
I absolutely love this quote from historian Ronald Syme, because he hits the nail on the head. These factions were often just convenient masks for elite competition. It wasn't truly a principled fight between the Senate and the people. Political life was basically stamped by a ruthless, personal strife for power, wealth, and glory at the complete expense of the Republic.
Because these leaders were totally obsessed with internal power dynamics rather than actually passing enlightened reform for struggling citizens, the government turned into an obstructionist machine. It was entirely detached from the needs of the people. The old system of consensus completely failed. Politicians constantly weaponized the veto, and when legal tricks didn't work, they increasingly resorted to sheer violence to just completely paralyze the state.
Which brings us to Section 3, the rise of the warlords and the fatal weapon.
This is where things get really crazy. During all this chaos, Rome's proud citizen militia accidentally morphed into a professional force fiercely loyal to individual warlords. It was a fatal domino effect. First, as citizen farmers lost their land to those giant latifundia, they no longer met the property qualifications to serve in the military. Second, Rome suddenly finds its legions desperately lacking recruits to defend its borders. Third, out of pure desperation, the Marian reforms eliminate those property requirements, allowing the urban poor to join. And then, the fatal blow. These impoverished soldiers became completely reliant on the individual generals who paid them and promised them land for retirement, rather than being loyal to the abstract Roman state.
Because of this massive shift, the military itself became an alternative source of power. The legions literally became a political tool. Think about it. If the Senate wouldn't give an ambitious politician what they wanted, that politician now had a highly trained professional army willing to march on the capital and take it by force.
And to make matters worse, intense xenophobia within the Roman establishment prevented them from integrating their own Italian allies. These allies were paying taxes, bleeding for the empire on the battlefield, and yet they were completely denied a vote or basic citizenship rights. This rampant xenophobia blocked any peaceful enfranchisement, which sparked the devastating social war. This internal bloodbath completely normalized mass violence on the Italian peninsula and further radicalized those professional legions we just talked about.
Okay, finally, Section 4, the Republic's final breath and the ultimate collapse.
So, all these underlying diseases finally killed the patient in a rapid cascade of consequences. Sulla's shocking march on Rome in 87 BC completely normalized using troops against your own state. That directly led to unprecedented street gang violence from figures like Clodius and Milo, which literally blocked democratic elections from even happening. Eventually, the First Triumvirate continually violated laws with total immunity, simply because the Senate had lost all its teeth. Institutionalized violence became the absolute only way to break the gridlock, paving a bloody, inevitable road for dictators to seize absolute control through systemic civil wars. So, knowing what we know now about that staggering wealth gap that hollowed out the middle class, the cynical political gridlock that paralyzed reform, and the fatal military shift that handed armies to ambitious warlords, I want to leave you with this final lingering thought to ponder. Was the Roman Republic actually destined to fall the exact moment it became an empire? It's a fascinating question that historians continue to debate to this day. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.